and they win the game against Arizona. I know Arizona stinks, but that's 3 straight kind of decent performances, 3 covers if you're from a gambling perspective. Maybe they finish strong here and there's some optimism. I don't think Hackett comes back, but they obviously have a defense, like you said, like Surtain, and that defense is pretty good.
You can absolutely trade 1 or 2 defensive pieces, get some draft capital back, and just rebuild the O-line. New coach O-line. Because Tennessee has proven in a stronger, in the AFC, they're both in the AFC. Tennessee has proven run game, defense, smart coach wins a lot of games, even if you're just okay at quarterback. If Russell is just now okay, they get the O-line, they have that young running back.
Young running back, he's out for the season,
okay.
Javonte Williams.
Go get another running back, solve the O-line.
By the way, Tim Patrick, good receiver, I think he's like a 2-3, missed the whole season. Jerry Jeudy, Hamler, Sutton, they've got weapons. They protect Russ. This team, I don't want to get too excited about next year, but they got something. And finally, speaking of Denver, the Dolphins made a big splash at the deadline. Remember, they picked up Bradley Chubb from Denver. In 6 games with Miami, Chubb, 2.5 sacks, 21 pressures. He knows he can do a lot more.
I want to be more dominant, you know what I mean? I want to be more taking over games, and that's kind of the reason they brought me here, is to do that, to help this defense take it to the next level. And I feel like, yeah, we took it up a notch, but it's a whole nother level we could take it to, and I want to be the catalyst for that.
I am very pro-Miami.
Yeah, we're on opposite sides here. It's a good one. This is the hat wager. Everybody knows, I know Friday's a big show, but Cowherd will wear a hat backwards for the second hour.
A Dolphins hat.
If the Packers get the victory.
I don't even know. Did I sign a contract for this?
Well, you're on. It's got to happen, Cowherd. Come on. I did the gritty here. You got to wear a hat backwards for an hour. Come on, Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, big fan of your work, obviously.
Yeah.
He wants to get the victory. Not only to beat the Dolphins, stay in the playoff hunt, but just to,
stick it to me. Yeah. J-Mac with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
So, there's the saying that you eat with your eyes first. All right, so you go to a nice restaurant, they want to make it look appealing. You eat with your eyes first. So generally you watch something, generally you trust your eyes on things, right? Looks dangerous, stay away. Looks overcooked, stay away. I think one of the issues with Zach Wilson with the Jets, it just doesn't look right. He looks small and he looks lost. He can't see the blitzes coming. He doesn't see the field particularly well. Like if Justin Fields doesn't work out in Chicago, he's big. There's a lot of wow moments. He's physical. He's fast. You can get fooled by some of these guys. Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota. They're big. They're mobile. There's wow moments. They run over players. They jump over players. They make big throws. This is hard. Again, I'm texting general manager last night, and he's like, man, finding the right coach, there's 5 great ones right now in the world. Find the right quarterback, there's 5 great ones in the world. It's hard. To get them simultaneously, you're Kansas City. You're Sean Payton, Drew Brees. Like, at any one time, there's 2 all-time coaches, quarterbacks, Bill Walsh, Montana. It's just hard. But it doesn't even look right. Even next to Mike White, his backup, Zach looks like his little brother. Next to coaches, he looks small. And it's funny. Is it because he plays small? Patrick Mahomes, I looked it up, he's 6'2" on the Chiefs' website. Aaron Rodgers is 6'2". Deshaun Watson is 6'2". Dak is 6'2". Zach Wilson's listed at 6'2". He looks small. And maybe it's because he plays like he's completely, utterly overwhelmed. The game is hard for him. At BYU, mostly a weak schedule. His biggest year was a COVID year, the weakest of the BYU schedules. He rarely got hit. I said this yesterday, is that asking a kid like Justin Fields, Ohio State to the NFL. Well, it's a big ask, but Ohio State's a massive program with a grown-up media and high speculation. You're in big games. You're in TV games. So you go to Chicago, big city Chicago. It's a leap, but it's a reasonable leap emotionally. It's a reasonable leap, right? To go from a rich kid, BYU, kind of protected, small town media, I mean, really small media, to New York City. Ferocious, aggressive media, defensive coach, a often chronicled, documented, viewed division. This is not the NFC South. Before Brady got there or when Sean Payton left, we don't pay much attention to it. It is a big ask. Cross country, New York from Provo. Kid grew up, a little bit of Johnny Manziel money, probably a different life, not a lot of, struggle, some like every kid. But, he's a great-looking kid, and my takeaway is that's a big ask. I mean, Justin Fields to the Bears, that's an ask. But, Ohio State football feels like it's 25% pro football. It's a factory. It's a huge program. Big schedule. Michigan's on the schedule. You'll play in Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. It's a whole different ballgame. You play at these like Alabamas or LSUs in Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. You're Notre Dame. Those are TV programs. You're facing NFL rosters every weekend. His best year was in a COVID year when the BYU schedule isn't the most daunting to begin with. It was a little light. And it just feels like it was too much. And it's remarkable to me. He looks so small, but yet you look at the numbers, and he's no smaller than a lot of the other guys. But you eat with your eyes. What does it look like? It just doesn't look close. Doesn't look close to working. Own a business, bumpy ride, stock market up, down. What is it today? I don't want to look. Once it's red, I turn the phone off. Green, I'll give it a look.
Why they had to force him back into the lineup, even though the locker room might not fully believe in him. And I think some of the leadership questions that came out of his reaction to that New England loss last month, certainly creep up again. But this is really about where the Jets are at right now and where Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are in putting that team together. It's a team that's ready to win right now, Colin. And you look like what they're going to be bringing back next year. I mean, the two injured guys coming back, and Oliver Tucker and Breece Hall on top of Garrett Wilson and Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. It's a team that's got a very functional running game. It's a team that's got a really good defense. I think the fair thing to the locker room is to give them a quarterback they can win with. They can't take another developmental year at the most important position on the field. And so they got to get a clean read over the next 3 weeks on what Zach Wilson's going to be in 2023, or they got to turn to a quarterback that they know very, very well. And of course, you and I both know where all those coaches came from. They came from San Francisco. And so I think the availability of Jimmy Garoppolo definitely complicates this for Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and Jimmy's injury, it should be noted, was not, in his throwing shoulder. It's, below the knee. He would be potentially back if they got to an NFC championship. He's potentially back. Debo's back sooner. So I think Garoppolo's going to have a fairly small market, but he's not super expensive. By the way, the Jets aren't paying their interesting young receivers. They're not paying Breece Hall. They're not paying Sauce Gardner. So they got a little bit of money to spend. So, let's talk. New England very well. I think they're going to play very well this weekend. The nasty wins in Foxborough going to help out, slow down Cincinnati's vertical passing game a little bit. But you were making a point to me during the break is we look at that final play and we're like, whew, that's embarrassing. But it wasn't the only one. You tell me. I said it before the season. It was viewed maybe as a hot take. Robert Kraft is now sending messages through the media. Could this be it for Belichick?
Let's look at that play then, right? And that play wasn't an isolated incident in that game. It was a symptom of something bigger going on. And, you watch and you see there's the block punt where they were all discombobulated and out of sorts. There was the goal line situation where Bill calls a timeout that negates a touchdown. There was a false start that wound up negating another touchdown. I mean, these sorts of things were happening in game. And, quite frankly, Colin, they've been happening all year. And I think that this goes back to the offensive coaching staff, the Bill has always owned football in a way where it's like you own the margins, you own the little things. That's where the Patriots have always been better than everybody else, right? And I think this is a situation where when you don't have the big things taken care of, it's very hard to worry about the little things if you're a player. And so I think, from a big picture standpoint, when you look at this, if you're Robert Kraft, I think you have to look at it and say, where is the direction of the offense? Where is our young quarterback going? Where are we investing our money? And right now, I think those are some questions that Bill's going to have to answer. And if Bill doesn't make a change on his own when it comes to those offensive coaches, does Kraft deliver an ultimatum? And I don't think Kraft's going to fire Bill, but if Kraft does deliver an ultimatum, how does Bill receive that? Now, I was in Dallas in 2007. It was Wade Phillips' first year there. And when Bill Parcells walked away before that year, everybody was talking about like the relationship between he and Jerry and Stephen Jones. It wasn't because he hated Stephen and Jerry Jones. It was because he came in on his own terms, did the job on his own terms. And then when he couldn't do the job on his own terms anymore, it was time for him to leave. And that's who Belichick learned from, So I just think there's a lot of things that are going to need to be sorted out whenever this season ends for New England. And I think how the owner approaches it and how Bill approaches it are going to be key to where this relationship is going forward. Again, I don't think Bill's getting fired, but I certainly see where things could be pretty strained after the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The Garoppolo to the Jets makes sense. I can see Josh McDaniels moving off Derek Carr and getting his own guy. I can see Tennessee looking at Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, and saying, let's go get Aaron Rodgers. I can honestly see them moving off Derrick Henry. He's now got a lot of carries. They're going to have to pay him a fortune, and running back-centric teams aren't winning. I'll just throw it out there. Derek Carr, gut feeling. Raiders keep him or not, because there are a lot of teams, Jets, Giants, Titans. I mean, that Jets roster and that Titans roster, those are rosters ready to win right now. Absolutely. Yeah. I could argue they're better than the Raiders roster. Where do you think Derek Carr ends up?
Well, there's a key, decision point in this contract there. I think you and I have talked about it before. 3 days after the Super Bowl, there's $40 million in there that vests as fully guaranteed. So the Raiders come, whatever the decision is, the Raiders are going to have to make it by mid-February, 3 days.